Throughout human history, countless cultures have looked to the past to understand their present. We seek connections to those who came before, ancestors who laid the foundation for who we are today. This yearning to know our roots runs deep, a fundamental human desire. Few journeys of self-discovery are as complex and as contested as the search for the true biblical Israelites. The Israelites hold a pivotal place in spiritual and cultural history. Their story, as told in the Bible, has resonated through millennia, but the question of their true descendants has sparked debate and controversy. Many groups across time and geography have claimed the mantle of the Israelites. Some base their claims on historical narratives, others on religious interpretations, and still others on a combination of both. This exploration is not merely an academic exercise. It is a journey fraught with personal meaning, cultural identity, and spiritual weight. The echoes of the ancient Israelites reverberate through time, their story woven into the tapestry of civilization. Their journey, as recounted in the Bible, begins with Abraham, a patriarch chosen by God to father a chosen people. From him descended generations, their saga marked by periods of slavery, exodus, and conquest. They faced trials and tribulations, moments of triumph and times of despair. Through it all, they clung to a covenant with God, a promise of a special relationship and a sacred purpose. The Israelites established a kingdom, built a temple, and left behind a legacy that continues to shape the world. But empires rise and fall. The Israelites faced conquests and exiles, their homeland changing hands throughout history. This dispersion scattered their descendants, making the question of their modern identity even more complex.
Why does this question resonate so deeply in the modern world? The search for the true biblical Israelites captivates and divides. It's about religious inheritance and a sacred lineage, a sense of belonging and connection to a powerful narrative. For others, it's about social justice and historical suffering. Claiming Israelite identity can reclaim resilience and resistance. But the quest has pitfalls, risking misappropriation. The line between cultural exploration and appropriation is thin.
The story of the Israelites begins not with a mighty empire but with a single family in the heart of the ancient Near East. Their patriarch Abraham received a divine call, a promise of blessings and a special relationship with God. This covenant, as it came to be known, lay at the heart of Israelite identity. Abraham's descendants journeyed to Egypt seeking refuge from famine. There, they grew in number, evolving from a family into a large, interconnected community. But their prosperity did not last. The Egyptians, fearing the growing Israelite population, subjected them to harsh slavery. Generations toiled under the Pharaoh's rule, their cries for deliverance echoing unanswered. Yet even in bondage, they clung to the covenant, their faith passed down through generations. The memory of Abraham's promise, of a land flowing with milk and honey, sustained them through their darkest hours. Section 2. Exodus and the Forging of a Nation. The Israelites' deliverance from Egyptian bondage is among the most iconic narratives in religious history. Led by Moses, they embarked on a perilous journey to freedom. The parting of the Red Sea allowed them to escape their pursuers. This event marked a turning point. They were now a people forged in shared experience. Their journey did not end at the water's edge. For 40 years they wandered the desert. During this time they received the law from God. These laws became central to Israelite identity. They were a sign of the covenant with God. Section 3. Kingdoms and Conflicts. A legacy unfolds. The Israelites reached Canaan, the Promised Land. Under Joshua, they conquered the land. Victories and setbacks marked their journey. They developed a unique culture. King Saul established a monarchy. King David united the tribes and established Jerusalem. Solomon built the first temple. The Golden Age ended. Internal divisions led to the kingdom's fall. Section 1. The Book of Beginnings, Genesis, and the Israelite Identity. The Book of Genesis lays the foundation for understanding the Israelites. It introduces their ancestors and the covenant that defines them. Abraham, a man of faith, is chosen by God to father a great nation. These traits define Israelite identity. Genesis also introduces Abraham's descendants, Isaac and Jacob. Jacob's 12 sons form the tribes of Israel. These stories shape the Israelites' identity and relationship with God. Section 2, the covenants, mark Exodus and the description of a people. The book of Exodus, detailing the Israelites' dramatic escape from Egyptian slavery, provides further clues about their identity. It is here we encounter more explicit descriptions of their appearance. While the Bible does not offer a detailed physical profile, it does provide glimpses into their features. For example, in Exodus chapter 4 verse 6, God instructs Moses to perform a sign. Put your hand inside your cloak. When Moses withdrew his hand, it was leprous, as white as snow. This verse, while primarily about demonstrating God's power, also hints at the skin tone of Moses, a key Israelite leader. The comparison to snow suggests a complexion lighter than the Egyptians, who were generally darker skinned. This aligns with descriptions of other ancient Near Eastern peoples, where variations in skin tone were common. Section 3. Prophets and prophecy glimpses into Israelite appearance. Moving beyond the Torah, the books of the prophets offer additional insights. These writings, often filled with vivid imagery and poetic language, occasionally allude to the Israelites' physical characteristics. For instance, the prophet Jeremiah, lamenting the destruction of Jerusalem, cries out, "Her Nazarites were purer than snow, they were whiter than milk." Lamentations chapter 4 verse 7. Nazarites, dedicated individuals who took vows of purity, were known for their distinctive appearance, including uncut hair. Jeremiah's comparison to snow and milk suggests a people with a lighter complexion, further supporting the idea that Israelites were not uniformly dark-skinned. While these descriptions are not meant to be exhaustive, they offer valuable clues, adding to the overall picture of Israelite identity as depicted in the Bible. Section 4. A people defined, summarizing the scriptural portrait. Based on the biblical evidence, a portrait of the Israelites begins to emerge. They were a people bound by a covenant with God, descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Their journey from slavery to nationhood shaped their identity, their laws, and their understanding of their place in the world. While the Bible does not provide a detailed physical description, scattered references suggest a range of appearances, with hints of lighter skin tones, particularly among key figures like Moses and the Nazarites. It's important to remember that these descriptions reflect the ancient world, a time and place where physical appearances varied widely, even within the same family or tribe. The Bible, in its wisdom, focuses on the Israelites' spiritual and cultural identity, emphasizing their unique relationship with God and their role in fulfilling His divine plan. The quest to identify the true descendants of the biblical Israelites has led to a complex and often contentious landscape of claims and counterclaims. Various groups scattered across the globe point to historical narratives, religious interpretations, and cultural practices as evidence of their lineage. This section navigates this intricate terrain, surveying the primary contenders and their arguments without endorsing any particular viewpoint.
One of the most prominent claims comes from certain groups within the African diaspora, particularly those who identify with the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. They argue that people of African descent are the true inheritors of the Israelite legacy, citing biblical interpretations, historical connections to the African continent, and perceived parallels between the oppression of ancient Israelites and the transatlantic slave trade.
Proponents of African Israelite identity often point to biblical passages that they believe support their claim. They highlight descriptions of Israelites as having dark skin, referencing verses like Song of Solomon chapter 1 verse 5, which reads, "I am very dark but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon." However, interpreting such passages requires careful consideration of the ancient context, language nuances, and potential for misinterpretations.
Beyond biblical interpretations, some proponents draw connections between ancient Israelite practices and those found in certain African cultures. They point to similarities in music, dress, and religious customs as evidence of a shared heritage. While cultural exchange and diffusion undoubtedly occurred throughout history, attributing specific practices solely to Israelite influence requires rigorous historical and anthropological analysis.
On the other side of the debate stand those who maintain that the true descendants of the Israelites are to be found primarily in the Middle East, particularly among Jewish communities. Their claim rests on a combination of historical records, genetic studies, and a continuous cultural and religious tradition dating back millennia.
Historically, the Jewish people have consistently identified as descendants of the ancient Israelites, tracing their lineage through recorded genealogies, communal memory, and religious texts. Genetic studies have also shed light on the ancestry of Jewish populations worldwide. While genetic evidence should be interpreted cautiously, it does suggest a shared ancestry originating in the Middle East, aligning with the historical narrative of Israelite origins. Furthermore, the preservation of Hebrew, the language of the ancient Israelites, as a sacred and cultural language among Jewish communities provides further evidence of a continuous cultural thread.
Section 4. A Tapestry of Descent, Acknowledging the Complexities. The question of who the true biblical Israelites are is complex and multifaceted.
Historical records and cultural practices evolve over time, making definitive conclusions challenging.
Genetic studies offer insights but can't capture cultural and religious nuances.
Approach this topic with sensitivity and respect. The quest for identity is personal and emotional.
Ultimately, it's a journey through history, culture, and faith. Section 1. The Weight of Words, Scrutinizing Historical Sources. When piecing together the puzzle of the past, historians rely on a variety of sources: written records, archaeological artifacts, and oral traditions passed down through generations.
Each source offers a glimpse into the past, but each also comes with its own set of limitations and potential biases. Examining the question of Israelite identity requires carefully scrutinizing these sources, evaluating their reliability, and considering the perspectives they represent.
Ancient texts, such as those written by Roman and Greek historians, offer valuable insights into the world the Israelites inhabited. These writers documented the rise and fall of empires, the movement of peoples, and the cultural practices of various groups.
However, their accounts were often shaped by their own cultural lenses, political agendas, and limited understanding of Israelite customs.
Section 2. Stones and Scrolls, Archaeology and the Israelite Story. Archaeology provides a tangible link to the past, unearthing the physical remnants of ancient civilizations.
Excavations in the Levant, the region encompassing ancient Israel, have uncovered cities, temples, and artifacts that corroborate key aspects of the biblical narrative. The remains of monumental structures, such as King Solomon's stables in Megiddo, attest to the Israelites' presence and influence in the region.
Inscriptions on pottery shards, seals, and monuments offer glimpses into Israelite language, writing, and religious practices. These discoveries provide tangible evidence of the Israelites' existence as a distinct cultural and political entity in the ancient Near East, supporting the historical core of the biblical account. Section 3. A Converging Narrative, Aligning History, Scripture, and Science. While historical and archaeological evidence provide valuable insights into the Israelites' past, these disciplines cannot definitively answer the question of their modern descendants. Cultural identities are fluid and complex, evolving over time through migration, intermarriage, and cultural exchange. Genetic studies, while offering valuable data, cannot fully capture the nuances of cultural and religious affiliation. Despite these complexities, examining the available evidence from multiple angles reveals a compelling narrative. The historical record, archaeological findings, and genetic studies converge to support the idea that the ancient Israelites were a distinct people who inhabited the Levant, their culture and beliefs, leaving an indelible mark on history. While tracing their exact lineage to specific modern populations remains a complex task, the evidence suggests a strong connection to the Middle East, particularly among communities who have long identified as descendants of the ancient Israelites. Section 1. The Enduring Legacy. As we draw this exploration to a close, one truth emerges with resounding clarity. The impact of the ancient Israelites on human civilization is undeniable.
Their story, woven from threads of faith and resilience, continues to resonate across millennia. From their laws to their spiritual texts, their legacy shapes our world profoundly.
While their exact modern descendants are debated, their impact on our consciousness is undeniable. The search for the true biblical Israelites leads us back to a fundamental truth. The human story is one of interconnectedness.
Just as the ancient Israelites journeyed from a single family to a great nation, human societies evolved through migration and cultural exchange.
Section 2. A journey without end. The pursuit of identity is a journey without a final destination. It is a process of discovery, of piecing together fragments of the past.
The quest to uncover the true biblical Israelites reflects our need to understand our place in history. It lives on in our stories, traditions, and search for belonging.
As we look to the future, let us carry with us the lessons learned from this exploration. Recognize the shared humanity that binds us across time and cultures.